In the heat of war, every plank, beam, and timber could mean the difference between survival and collapse. Armies marching through forests, fortresses under siege, and supply wagons battered by both weather and enemy action relied on wood to endure extremes. Yet wood, for all its utility, was vulnerable. Moisture, insects, rot, and the stresses of repeated use could compromise even the most carefully built structures. Carpenters of old understood that survival in war was not just about building quickly, but building to last. From medieval castles to Viking fortifications and Napoleonic camps, the secrets of protecting timber were passed quietly from master to apprentice, combining practical ingenuity with a deep understanding of materials. Today, we explore the methods, the reasoning, and the applications of those techniques, showing how knowledge forged in conflict can still guide us in building durable wood today. Why war made protecting timber a matter of strategy. Timber in times of war was a critical resource, not merely a construction material. Bridges, palisades, siege engines, and even simple huts could not fail, because a single collapse might cost lives or compromise entire operations. Carpenters had to anticipate environmental damage alongside enemy action. Wood exposed to rain or snow, left untreated, would rot within months, and untreated handles or shafts could snap under repeated stress. Protecting timber became a strategic imperative. Historical records show that armies often assigned dedicated craftsmen and specific heat or smoke treatments to logs intended for long-term military use. The lesson is clear. Preservation is part of planning, not an afterthought. How slow drying and heat preserved structural integrity. Carpenters discovered that the slow removal of moisture was key to longevity. Timber stacked near warm, ventilated areas, away from direct sunlight or rain, allowed water to leave evenly. When combined with controlled heat, either from hearths, forges, or smoke, they produced wood that resisted warping, splitting, and cracking. In siege operations, where beams and planks would endure repeated load, this approach ensured predictable performance. Practically, modern enthusiasts can replicate this by stacking boards in a ventilated shed, rotating them regularly, and introducing gentle, consistent warmth to accelerate drying without shocking the wood. The principle is the same. Patience and attention yield durable timber. Why smoke was as important as fire. Beyond moisture removal, smoke was a protective agent. Low-burning fires deposited phenolic compounds and subtle acids into the wood, creating a natural barrier against fungi and insects. In military encampments, smoked beams and planks could be stored for months, even in damp conditions, without significant deterioration. Smoke also allowed carpenters to treat multiple pieces simultaneously in a confined area, which was, a necessity when armies needed rapid yet reliable results. Today, a simple smoke chamber using hardwood embers can reproduce this effect. Rotating logs, keeping an eye on exposure, and making sure to avoid direct flame ensures that the smoke penetrates evenly and strengthens the wood rather than burning it. How wartime carpenters balanced speed and longevity. In conflict, time was rarely on the builder's side. The brilliance of historical methods lay in their efficiency. Initial air drying, followed by heat and smoke treatment, allowed timber to be ready for use without sacrificing durability. Siege engineers, for instance, might partially air-dry logs for weeks before smoke or gentle heat treatment, producing beams capable of supporting heavy machinery. For modern application, this means not rushing the process. Even in urgent survival or reconstruction projects, prioritizing proper drying and controlled heat prevents costly failures later. Start with air drying, then introduce warmth or smoke gradually, monitoring color, moisture, and surface condition. Why chemical preservatives were not relied upon historically. Long before modern chemicals existed, armies depended on natural methods. Not only were chemicals unavailable, but they were unreliable in the field and often compromised the wood's strength. Carpenters relied on observation, patience, and practical experimentation. They knew that heat, smoke, and proper drying created wood that endured harsh weather and constant handling, maintaining structural integrity and load-bearing capacity. This is a principle still relevant today for those restoring historical structures, crafting period-accurate tools, or preparing durable materials in off-grid environments. And it's interesting how knowledge from wartime timber preservation can be applied today. Survivalists, reenactors, and builders can all benefit from these lessons. When constructing long-lasting shelters, defensive structures, or load-bearing beams, combining air drying with controlled heat or smoke ensures predictable performance. Tool handles, stakes, and timber frameworks treated in this way will resist cracking, warping, and insect damage. A practical approach involves storing freshly cut logs off the ground under cover, rotating them to allow air circulation, then exposing them to gentle warmth or smoke until they reach the desired moisture content and surface stability. The method may take longer, but it produces timber capable of standing up to stress weather and time, just as it did on battlefields centuries ago. Why this historical knowledge remains relevant and valuable. Protecting timber in times of war was not just a craft, it was a matter of survival. Today, whether you're building durable structures, engaging in historical reconstruction, or, preparing for off-grid living, these same principles provide guidance for long-lasting results. Heat, smoke, and careful drying aren't just relics, they're proven methods that continue to outperform shortcuts and rushed treatments. Understanding how carpenters worked under pressure, with limited resources and high stakes, gives modern builders both inspiration and practical techniques. The carpenter's hand echoes through history, teaching us that patience, knowledge, and respect for material are just as crucial as any modern tool. By adopting these methods, you can ensure your wood survives stress weather and the passage of time. If you value deep historical insight, practical skill, and techniques forged in the realities of conflict, make sure to subscribe to Echoes of Valor. Share this with fellow enthusiasts and help preserve the wisdom of those who built to last in the most challenging of times.